Greetings, Earthlings! Before we start exploring, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, wherever you're listening. It helps more people find the show and supports our mission of making science accessible to everyone. You're here with DJ Stellar Cloud. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome back to the Exploring Your Universe radio show. Exploring Your Universe is going to be on November 2nd of this year, 2025, from 12 to 5 in the Court of Sciences. We are UCLA and LA County's largest science experience, and we are completely cost-free. You're listening to DJ Stellar Cloud and...
DJ Rockstar.
DJ Rockstar, aka Abijah Simon, is back. Oh, but now you're Dr. DJ Rockstar.
That's true. I defended my dissertation in between this time and the last time we talked. Thank you.
Congratulations again, but we have some catching up to do. So DJ Rockstar was the president of EYU for many, many years. Actually, you're the first president of EYU, right?
Well, of recent. I kind of brought back the president position after it had, expired for a little bit.
That tends to happen. But you were the president for like 4 or 5 years.
It was like 4 years, I think.
Oh my gosh. So this is like also somewhat of an update of what we've been doing since you've been gone. This year, we are excited to have a Pioneer Award recipient. It is going to be Professor Terrence Tao of the math department.
Oh, wow. He's really famous.
Yeah, so Terry Tao is thought of to be the greatest living mathematician. And this year, he's going to be there. He'll have a whole hour where he's just going to yap about math.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Thank you.
He's going to yap for an hour, you said?
Yeah, so we're going to give him the award. We're expecting that to take like 15 minutes. And then he apparently, when he goes places, he just ad-libs.
Oh, and he's going to be able to talk for a whole hour.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so much better than the award ceremonies of the past, because usually they just give the award to a person and it takes like 15 minutes and everybody wants to just get their autograph, but having like him talk is actually way better, so I'm really stoked for that.
That's so funny. I mean, I would love a Terry Tao autograph, but I'm sure I'll see his signature on like a permission slip somewhere when we're like, can we film you? And we are going to be live streaming.
Oh, the whole thing?
Yes, so we're going to live stream from 12 to 5, so it will have the Terry Tao Award, so anybody, even if you're not local to Los Angeles, can watch the Pioneer Award ceremony. And then the live streamer will just sit in the room. It's going to be in a lecture hall this year instead of outside.
Oh, wow. Where can I find that?
Yeah, so it's going to be CS50, which is the middle lecture hall of Schlichter.
Oh, where can I find the live stream?
Oh, the live stream. Okay. Live stream details are to follow. By the time we post this podcast episode, they will have settled themselves, but I'm trying to get it at the same place where you hear the podcast, so on our YouTube channel and on our website.
Okay.
But This is very exciting, and Danny, who is DJ Lil Duo, is running the live stream.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's going to be, wait, you said outside or inside?
It'll be inside.
Okay.
So it's going to be in the speaker hall, and then we're going to show some of our favorite speakers on the live stream. They're all our favorite speakers, but some speakers will end up on the live stream.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And that's really awesome because then outside people don't have to be here for EYU if they can't make it. They can just attend the virtual EYU session.
Yeah, it was actually Dean Miguel's idea. He wanted to do EYU to the world. He's like, let's make EYU sort of like a movement of how science is for everybody. And it's not just for everybody in Los Angeles, it's for everybody everywhere.
I love that, because EYU is supposed to be for everybody, but, it's as everybody as the people are able to actually come and attend the event. So by broadening the reach to outside people, I think that would be, really great.
So that's some like huge updates. But my other one is that we're also broadening the reach of the Court of Sciences this year.
Oh, what?
So for the first time ever, we are going to offer secret garden tours of the Matthias Botanical Garden.
What?
Which is like, 100 feet south of the Court of Sciences.
Yeah, that's really far away. What is secret garden?
Well, I've just been calling it the secret garden because you can't see it from the Court of Sciences.
Okay.
So this was DJ Squared's idea, DJ. He was like, the botanical garden at UCLA, it's beautiful, and they often have these public lectures. What if we let people attend a public lecture? Public lectures aren't available on Sundays, but what they do have are self-guided scavenger hunts. And so our event coordinator, Shreya, has been helping them build a scavenger hunt for kids so that they can walk around the garden area.
What is the scavenger hunt like? Is it physical items, or you're just trying to like?
You just like check off different species of flowers and plants. So like, oh, find one native plant, find one red plant, something like that.
Oh, that's so exciting, and that's really cool. We have a beautiful botanical garden, so
I know.
That's really awesome that more people will be able to check it out.
But part of that is to alleviate the planetarium line.
Mm.
As you know, the planetarium line is
yeah. Are you still doing tickets for the planetarium?
They are still doing tickets. They're gonna do tickets in 2 batches this year. There was a whole philosophy.
Every year we change the format of the ticket delivery system.
So I was at the meeting where we were talking about placing like the velvet ropes to keep the people in line situated. But we have a brand new person who's kind of just handling things like planetarium and garden tours. I call them ticketed events. So Shreya, they are handling all of this and they've been doing a spectacular job.
That's amazing. And for context, the planetarium ticket line has been the source of many disputes in person as people argue who was first in line and like, no, I want to go see the planetarium, but the line is always too long, and then we tried to do an online system, but that didn't quite work out. So
there's no internet.
Yeah, so I think it's really awesome you assigned somebody to it.
I was like, this is ridiculous. Well, because the planetarium used to be a booth. I was the booth coordinator. I was like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
So last year, the CNSI, the California Nanosystems Institute, they joined us with lab tours. And so last year we had planetarium and lab tours as the 2 ticketed opportunities. And so this year we're expanding to the garden tours as the 3rd one.
Oh, wow. So there's 3.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really cool.
So hopefully the planetarium isn't completely packed.
I think in past years there was another booth that did like an escape room. Is that
what?
Is that one still on your booth?
Oh my gosh, not that I know of.
And so they handed out their own tickets because they would have groups of people go into their like made escape room.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe we could look back because like they could be another ticketed event.
We must have lost them to the pandemic.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But we are so excited. I think we have something like 15 new booths this year.
Wow. How many do you have in total then?
We're at 65 right now.
Okay.
And we're supposed to close signups tomorrow. So by the time people are hearing this, it'll be long closed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're hoping to hit 70.
Oh my gosh.
With a possible secret expansion by Dean Miguel of a +7 booths of faculty who have made inventions before using basic science. But I don't know if that one's going to happen.
A secret collection of booths that may or may not happen.
I know.
And you'll know by the time this comes out, I guess.
I will have to know by then because we need to clear everything with the fire marshal on Monday.
Oh my gosh.
Have you been to the fire marshal meeting before? You must have.
I don't remember.
Okay.
So
it'll be my first one this year.
Okay.
So very exciting.
Very exciting. All the rules will be laid down and you'll be taught a lot about what is too much water usage.
Oh my gosh, the water usage.
Yeah.
There are many email threads right now about water usage. I'm trying my best, but I'm like, Dean Miguel, can you please like help me? He's sort of like the most powerful person that we get to talk to, and he's so sweet. So it's not him. He just has so much going on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's amazing what goes into putting on this enormous event.
Yes.
I mean, just like talking about, oh yeah, water usage and all these regulations and setting up the booths and the planetarium, and now you have ticketed events.
I know.
And it's so amazing that it just keeps growing and expanding. And yeah, I'm so excited to go, actually.
Honestly, like in the back of my mind, I'm always like, I gotta keep Abijah's legacy strong.
Aww.
We can't let her down.
No, I think you not only kept it strong, but I think you improved it and you have continued it to where I hope somebody else can continue your legacy. You're the new star of EYU for sure.
Oh my god, thank you. Speaking of younger people, is it okay if we talk about Hannah?
Yeah, let's talk about Hannah.
Okay, so Hannah is Abijah's...
my adopted daughter.
Yes. She's a teenager, and she's currently the main admin of our Eventbrite.
Mm-hmm.
So when this comes out, you can still RSVP for EYU on our Eventbrite. That's EYU25.eventbrite.ca. As of today, we've passed 5,000 signups.
Yay!
So that's 5,000 people saying that they're going to come to EYU this year, and Eventbrite has raised like over $700 or something like that.
Wow.
Which is crazy. So thank you to our crowdfunders. that's been absolutely amazing. And Hannah's done a great job running Eventbrite.
Oh, thank you to all the people who are donating. I know when Hannah made the Eventbrite, I think I was one of the first people to sign up. I was like, wow, Hannah, you did such a good job. And I saw the little donation button. I was like, Megan, that's such a good idea. Like, I love that there's an extra place for people who like love EYU and want to contribute just a little bit more to this organization.
It was crazy. When I made that button, I was like, this took me 5 minutes. If it raises $10, I'm gonna be so happy.
Yeah.
And then it raised $700 but still a few weeks out. So
that's such a good idea.
We put the Terry Tao announcement on there very recently, and that really skyrocketed sales.
Wow, that's so amazing. Yeah, and I remember, you know, some people are just so grateful for EYU, and they bring their kids every year and they just love it. They're very faithful, and you know, sometimes they ask like, oh, how can I contribute? And before there was only like, you know, a complicated online system. Yeah. So I think when you sign up for the tickets and it's just right there in front of you, it makes it really easy for people to pitch in $10, $5, whatever you can afford.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All the donations are like between $5 and $25. It's just, wow, our attendees are so sweet.
That is so sweet.
Yeah.
Especially because it's just like a community event, so it's just like community fundraising also. And it's so special too because it is run by volunteers, so I mean, just like entirely free to the public. It's really hard to put on an event like this, so you know, it's so nice for the people who are contributing a little bit extra.
But yeah, speaking to your experience, you ran this event for 5 to 6 years while you were doing grad school.
Yeah.
And this event, I would say, consumed so much of your life that we never got to talk about the grad school part of it.
That's true. During our last podcast episode, I was very enthusiastic about EYU, and of course you are too. So we just went on and on about it, and I could still go on for another episode if that was the motivation. But I think this time we talked about going into my research a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll document at least a little bit of your research. But first, how did you manage all of this, like, time, energy? How did you stay on top of it?
I mean, you are doing exactly what I was doing at that time, so I guess you could ask also, you know, how are you doing it? Because you also have some incredible research, and you're also managing EYU plus expansions, like, all at the same time, so, you know.
The expansions are thanks to the amazing board members. I mean, people are coming out of the woodwork to say, like, how great this year's team is. We have a team of 20, and there's, like, 4 undergrad interns, and they run the social media now. That helped a lot. There's just, like, I love to ask for help. I know usually you hear people hate to ask for help. I'm like, when I see somebody who's good at something, I'm going to ask them to help with that. So I saw these undergrads who are good at graphic design, and I'm like, okay, you guys need to take over the Instagram. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. It's not my passion.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that you're using people's skill sets and using it, like, honing in on what they're good at to improve the event. I feel like that's what makes a good leader, so,
Thank you.
You're really doing an excellent job.
But anyway, the reason I'm still able to do all this stuff is because my advisor really understands the impact of EYU, Jean-Luc Margot, and when he hears that I'm like, oh, I'm too busy to do research because I'm doing EYU stuff, he's like, oh, okay, like, we'll meet again next week. It's totally fine. And I know that not every grad student has that sort of, like, I'll call it a privilege of having an advisor who understands how important this work is.
Yeah, that is definitely true, but I mean, with all the things that you've done with EYU and expanding it and just really showing it to be the #1 science fair in the greater LA region, it would be hard to see this and just say, oh yeah, like, you know, why didn't you have time to analyze more data?
Publisher perished.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll get around to it. I was also privileged enough, as you would say, to have support for the quarter that I was the president of EYU, because I can't imagine trying to be a TA and doing research and doing EYU at the same time. So I was able to basically focus on EYU and do some research on the side for the quarters that EYU is happening and try to balance my time that way. But, you know, as the event approaches, you get super busy. So, you know, that was the times when my research kind of fell to the side until after the event. And there's like a solid 1 or 2 months before winter break where I would just basically cram in the rest of the work that I missed out on for the rest of the quarter.
We're at 25 days away right now, so it's starting to pick up. But I love it. I do miss my research because I don't get to see her as often anymore. But yeah, I can get back to that later. This is very important.
It is important, and yeah, no, that's awesome.
We keep getting off track. Okay. Speaking of publish or perish, you recently published, right?
Oh no, I recently submitted a manuscript too. Oh, thank you. It did take me quite a long time. There was quite a few hiccups in my research journey, but I managed to get to where I am now. Submitted my first manuscript first author manuscript last week, and working on the second one hopefully by the end of this month.
Oh my gosh.
It's all pretty much put together. It was just like took a while for me to really like be able to get to the submission process.
That is packed though. You're gonna have 2 within like 3 months.
Yeah, but I mean obviously I wrote the majority of it before for my dissertation, and it was just a matter of like putting it in for the journal.
Okay, for listeners at home, can you please explain the difference between a dissertation and a publication? What is a journal?
So the dissertation is what you submit at the end of your PhD, and it's a culmination of all of the research you did while at the university. And then when I say I submitted like a manuscript for publication, that means that I'm actually submitting just one article focused on one subject to a peer-reviewed journal, meaning that the journal is basically reviewed by reviewers who are able to gauge the quality of the research, and if they decide it's all right, you know, you probably have to revise it some based on their comments, and then you submit it to actually be published, and then it'll show up on online scholarly journals, research. You know, you go on Google Scholar, that's scholar.google.com, and that's where you can find all of the articles about any subject that you want that are peer-reviewed and written by people who studied a very specific thing and published it for public access and for future research to utilize.
Have you checked to see if you're the only Abijah on Google Scholar?
I am not the only Abijah, but I believe I'm the only Abijah Simon.
Okay.
So I think I definitely will have that.
But you're probably the only Abijah in geology.
This is a good question. I don't know. Maybe.
You know, I'm not even the only Megan Lee in astronomy. It's so sad. Today, somebody was writing a little EYU write-up, and they're like, do you always go by Megan Grace Lee? And I'm like, yes, it's because everybody's name is Megan Lee. Yeah.
When you publish a paper, would you put your middle name?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
all of my papers are under Megan G. Lee.
Okay.
And then it's like, you know, linked correctly to my org ID. Like IMDb, academics have the ORC ID, where everybody has a unique identifier.
Like IMDb.
Yeah.
I like that comparison.
I'm kind of an IMDb nerd these days. I actually hate movies, but I've been playing this game called Cine2Nerdle, which is like the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, where you have to link people across movies. So you're like, oh, Timothée Chalamet is in Wonka, but he's also in Dune. And Zendaya's in Dune, and she's in Frenemies, the Disney Channel original movie. And the other person has to try to name them back to you. It's competitive. Anyway, that was so off topic.
Wow, that sounds fun, though.
It's really funny. So people can also play that with academic papers. So there's like some people have a score like the H-index, but it's the score of how many papers away are you from Albert Einstein, and then how many songs are you away from Freddie Mercury.
Oh, wow.
So like Brian May's score is like the lowest one there, because you'd want like a 0.
Wow, very interesting. Huh.
Anyway, what is your paper about? What can people see in your research?
Okay, so my like bigger picture scale research is about Eastern Tibet, and when I say Tibet, I'm not talking about the politically defined region of Tibet, which is like a cut off area, part of China now,
I don't know anything about Tibet.
About Tibet, okay.
Which is sad.
Well, have you heard of the Dalai Lama?
Yes.
Okay, so Dalai Lama is, associated a lot with Tibet.
Okay.
And Tibet.
Oh, Tibetan monasteries.
Yeah, monasteries. There was a whole Free Tibet movement.
Yes, I know about the Free Tibet movement. It's written in Chinese all over the city of Berkeley.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Have you been to Berkeley?
I have been to Berkeley.
So when I lived there for a few months, so many people just have Sharpies and they write Free Tibet in Mandarin everywhere.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know, if it was, a gang-related thing or something. So I held out my Google Translate. It's just, Free Tibet. I'm like, oh, okay, Free Tibet.
Huh, that's interesting, yeah. But anyway, there's a whole political controversy over Tibet. What I was going to say is, the geologically defined Tibet, as we call it, is basically the Tibetan Plateau, which if you look on Google Earth is this enormous upraised region. So it's a really high. It has average elevations of over a mile, 5,000 kilometers. 4,000 to 5,000 kilometers.
Is that Mammoth Mountain?
It would be, yeah, if you're standing at the top of Mammoth.
What the heck?
Basically that's just the whole region.
Got it.
And it's large and flat. And, I mean, there's also the Colorado Plateau. So, you know how, Denver's, the mile-high city or whatever. So, there's kind of an analog in the U.S. But Tibet is this broad, high, flat region of topography, and there's mountains along all of its borders, and in its south those are the Himalayas. That is where India is colliding into Asia and uplifting a huge group of mountains known as the Himalayas along its southern extent, while my research focuses on its eastern extent, so where the plateau drops from really high mountains over 5 kilometers also into the Sichuan Basin, which is this low flat region of only 500 kilometers. So it goes from 5,000 kilometers to 500 kilometers in the span of only 50 kilometers distance. Yeah, I don't know. Listeners probably aren't used to kilometers as a measurement form, but scientists in general use kilometers and meters. So
from what I've heard, a lot of our listeners are a lot of faculty, staff, students in the physical sciences area.
Okay, that's good.
UCLA College people listen to us. Thank you guys for always listening. So they may be used to it, but I'm actually not used to it. I don't know anything.
Okay, so basically I study the mountains in the eastern extent, and I have mapped more of the eastern Tibetan Plateau than any American geologist has.
Wow.
So basically I went there and I took measurements of the rocks. So these are structural measurements, meaning I used a compass and basically measured the angles at which the bedding is tilted in one way or another. And I also tracked where there's fault lines. So those are commonly known to be associated with earthquakes, and these might be recent earthquakes or earthquakes in the past, but these fault lines basically show tectonic motion, and they also have to do with how the mountains there were uplifted. And so my research is basically on where are these faults, what is their geometry, what is their movement, also known as kinematics, and also how do these structures relate to how the mountains formed in this region. And there's two main mountains that I investigated. One is called the Longmenshan, which is right up against the Sichuan Basin, and it was the locus of enormous earthquake in 2008 called the Wenchuan earthquake, and many Chinese people actually know of this earthquake because it was so devastating. It killed 80,000 people.
Yeah, I remember seeing the video in your dissertation talk.
Yeah, it's crazy. When we were there, you can see all of the buildings.
Yeah.
A lot of them still are there and they're half buried or they're tilted, and it's really sad.
Yeah.
And our driver actually on the trip lost his son in this earthquake, which is really sad. He was only 8 years old, and it had a very personal meaning to him that he was helping out with a geologist who was investigating the earthquakes and the fault and the geology of this region. So the first mountain range I'm investigating is the Lomanshan, which is this very, this mountain range right against the Sichuan Basin. And another one, which is the one that I just submitted for publication, is called the Minshan. And the Minshan is basically a little bit more inland of the very easternmost border. And so the question there that I was trying to answer with this paper is like, why is there a mountain range kind of like in the interior of the easternmost margin? So it makes sense that there would be a mountain range right up against that low flat basin because it's getting pushed up against the low flat basin. But if you go a little bit more inland, there's this north-south trending mountain range essentially, which is defining the northern part of the eastern Tibetan plateau, if that makes sense.
So we're not expecting the mountain range to be there? Like there's nothing obvious?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
And so there's two models for how these mountain ranges formed. One is called the channel flow model. And basically, and the second one is called the thrust belt model.
Okay.
The channel flow model basically says that there's a hot ductile channel that's inflating the middle to lower crust, meaning it's basically like this hot...
Like lava or like just warm?
It would almost be like lava. If
I guess we call it magma, sorry.
Yeah, magma. Lava would be on the surface, technically. It would be kind of beneath the surface, and it's ductile, and it's just kind of like pushing the crust up from below. And the reason people were thinking that there is this mechanism is because a lot of people didn't find faults on the surface that have to do with the uplift of these mountain ranges. And also there wasn't much movement on the surface. Like we can tell how much the surface has moved using GPS, but
like just pictures?
GPS measurements, basically over time you can see how much the ground surface is moving relative to, a certain position.
Okay.
And so the surface of eastern Tibet is not moving that much despite there being super tall mountains. And also a lot of people didn't really find much active faulting in this region. So active faulting means these faults are currently active and they can explain the mountains. So because of these things, people proposed there's this channel flow, meaning there's this hot channel pushing the crust up from below, which means that if it's just vertically inflated, that means there isn't much movement on the surface. And it also means that there's not much faulting on the surface. So basically, by us going in and looking for faults on the surface, we're trying to see if we can find faults that explain the uplift of the mountain range.
Got it.
And
is this ductile channel flow something that we see in other areas?
So another place where it has been proposed is, for example, the Colorado Plateau.
Oh, okay.
But the majority of the evidence that people like to say shows channel flow is operating is in Tibet, and eastern Tibet is basically like the focus of a lot of these channel flow model ideas. So this is like the perfect testing ground to see if this model of crustal deformation is even viable.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this eastern Tibet area is like the forefront of people who are working on this channel flow theory.
Yeah, exactly. So
very cool.
That's why we were trying to investigate this model of crustal deformation with my research. And the contrasting hypothesis is the thrust belt model, which is basically a very typical mechanism of mountain building where there's thrust faults, and the thrust faults cause mountains to form. So
which type of fault is a thrust fault?
A thrust fault is a compressional fault. So
okay.
I don't know if I should...
That's the two coming together. There's the slip strike.
Right. Yeah, so, okay, should I talk about
go ahead.
So there's three main types of faults. One is a thrust fault. That's where you have things moving towards each other, so it's compressing. And these are also called reverse faults. And, they cause the Himalayas when there's continental collision. But basically, in any situation where you have two things moving towards each other and there's a fault in between, that would be a thrust fault. Then there's a strike-slip fault, which is basically two plates are horizontally moving past each other. If you think about the San Andreas Fault, you know, they're usually very linear on the surface, and they won't really cause mountains to form because they're basically just displacing one mass of crust away from another mass just horizontally. So it's not really going up or down. And then the last type of fault is extensional, meaning two masses are moving away from each other. And if you have two masses of earth or tectonic plates that are moving away from each other, then generally you would have one basically sliding down along that fault surface. And so in the, you know, Utah area, that's like the basin and range extension is what geologists call that region, just because there has been so much extension, and it basically caused these basins to form between the mountains. And so at the base of the basins, before you get to the mountains, which are known as ranges, those are all normal faults. So basin and ranges, that entire region in the Utah area, which has experienced extension, and so there's just normal fault after normal fault after normal fault, which is why you have a series of basins and ranges. Okay, so going back,
so we know what thrust is. Now what is thrust belt?
Okay, a thrust belt, as the name suggests, is basically a belt or a series of linear, basically like if you think about a mountain range, a belt of mountain ranges would just be like a linear series of mountains. So if we go back to the Himalayas, you know, if you bigger picture scale, all of the Himalayas are kind of in a row. You could call that a thrust belt. And so when we say the Longmenshan thrust belt, we're referring to all of the individual mountains and these high elevations, which are kind of in a row, which we say is the thrust belt. Yeah. Because it's not just one single mountain. If you were actually there and, you know, for example, you're trying to summit one of these mountains, you would just be summiting that mountain. And that mountain is defined by that peak.
Oh.
And so you say, oh, I summited Mount Whitney, or I did, you know, Mount Baldy or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you look from kind of like, you zoom out a little bit, you would tend to see that these high peaks form in kind of like clusters, linear clusters, and you can define entire swaths of higher elevation. So that entire range would be, it's also called a range, right? A range is like a higher elevation swath. Also, a mountain belt. So those are all the same thing.
In astronomy, we would say that these mountains have a low signal to noise ratio because their baseline is just already higher. So each mountain is not like starting from zero.
Oh, wait, could you explain that?
So like when we get a signal and we're looking for like distinct peaks, but if the background noise was already closer to that peak, the actual like difference between the high points and the regular points is a lot smaller. Okay, so you worked on this Eastern Tibetan Plateau for a really long time.
Okay, wait, let me...
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, I was just gonna say for the Minshan, I don't know if you want me to go into...
Go ahead.
Okay, so basically what we found in the Minshan is that there are thrust faults on the surface, so that kind of contradicts the predictions of channel flow. But the thrust fault is at kind of like a not predicted orientation with respect to the mountains.
Oh.
So if you have a thrust fault, we have two sides. This is kind of hard to describe audially without like a visual diagram, but there's two sides to a thrust fault. One is called the hanging wall. That side goes up. The other one is the foot wall. That one is just kind of like there while the other side goes up against it. And so in the Minshan, there's a thrust fault, but the hanging wall is not where the Minshan is.
I see.
So we would expect that, okay, sure, if there's a thrust fault that uplifted the Minshan, then, and there is a thrust fault, then why is it that the mountain is on the wrong side
yeah.
of the fault. So this got us thinking, and then we used a seismic reflection profile, which goes deeper into the earth. Basically, that's how you see layers beneath the surface of the earth. And it went all the way down to 50 kilometers. And with that, we saw that the thrust fault was oriented in that weird orientation, but it connected to another thrust under the surface that was oriented oppositely.
Okay.
So basically, there's two thrusts, one on the surface and then one at depth, and they connect together. And we call this a thrust wedge.
Wow.
And so
the promotion from belt to wedge.
we basically constructed a wedge model for the uplift of the Minshan. So we say, okay, these thrust faults are oriented differently than expected, but if you look even deeper into the surface, then there's an oppositely oriented thrust system. So if you connect these together, they basically form a triangle, which is responsible for pushing up the mountain above it. And that is how we hypothesize the Minshan was uplifted and formed.
That is so cool that you guys actually figured it out.
Well, that's actually the genius of my late advisor, Anyan, who was really into this idea of this wedge tectonic model. And he had the bigger picture idea, and it was kind of up to me to fill in the details, but his vision, is definitely viable, as I found as I continue to interpret the details of the seismic reflection profile. And I went there and I did all this mapping, and I was like, oh, you're right, it is a west dipping thrust fault connecting to an east dipping ramp under the surface.
So he guessed that?
He kind of took a look at the seismic profile and previous work, and he was like, why don't we see if this makes sense and if this works. And he drew it out for me, and as it turns out, it does make sense.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, we love on this channel, but I didn't know he was such a genius. That's really cool.
Yeah, An was really good at seeing different these problems and coming up with a singular big picture model that would explain all of the observations that he saw.
My favorite On story is that at orientation he told us that his name means peace, and he drew it on the board for us, and he says, but the picture that the character peace draws in Chinese is that there's a woman home. So if there is a woman in your house, it will be very peaceful.
Aww.
My house is not very peaceful, despite that I'm there. Partially because An's cat is there. She's crazy.
We love Yun.
Yun's very sweet, but she's crazy. On a lot of the other episodes, you can actually hear her meowing. I don't know if Zoe edits that out.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Okay, so I think we heard about one of the mountain ranges, but you studied two.
I did, yeah. And so the second one was the Lominshan. And the Lominshan is the one which is right up against that low Sichuan basin. By low, it's 500 kilometers elevation.
That's still a lot, right? Because we're at 30 meters.
Yeah, well, if you imagine this is literally the middle of China.
Okay.
So yeah, it right next to it had 5,000 kilometers of elevation. So it really took a steep drop down to the basin, and that steep drop is defined by the Lominshan mountain ranges.
Oh, okay.
And the Wenchuan earthquake occurred in the Lominshan range. It's a really beautiful mountain range. I don't know if people are on YouTube, and there was a period of time where there's this Chinese YouTuber who was really famous, who made everything from scratch. She lives in these mountains, basically.
I guess that is something interesting that we don't often think about here, is that people in this region are living actually on these really extreme circumstances. I don't know if they look extreme if you're actually there.
Yeah, it's definitely down to earth. We went through a lot of villages. I think one interesting thing I saw was there's this system of heating up water with mirrors, and it was like pretty common to have these basically circular mirror setups with a teapot in the middle, and that's how you heat up your water.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And oh yeah, another thing I found out is basically they control the rain. So like if the clouds look like they might rain, but it's like not quite raining, then they set off firecrackers into the atmosphere, and then it makes it rain. So I didn't know that.
Okay, that's what I mean by like this is kind of crazy, because there's no like analog to this in the US as far as I know.
Yeah, I'm diverging a bit from geology, but
okay. We love a good like weather machines reference.
It was just like a really cool place to be. It's so beautiful. A lot of these villages have like 50 or less people. A lot of the traditional, ways of living are continue to be passed down there. Although a lot of these people say that, the younger people have gone to the cities and, they're not coming back.
Well, most of our guests don't actually get to visit the things that they study. So I think it's really cool that you went to go visit the stuff that you study, and that like your research has an impact on these people that you met.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That was very motivational for me for my research, because it's, I want these people to be able to know, oh, look, like you're living on a dangerous fault line. Like, please, like, keep that in mind or have precautions. It's not like well known even. There's some regions where there was definitely faults going through the whole thing. There was we basically find faults by finding fault surfaces and slicken sides, which are these like kind of smooth surfaces with grooves and lines in it, which show that the rocks dragged against another.
Yeah.
And by finding this, you're like, oh, there's a fault surface. You can measure the direction of movement, and you can measure the orientation that the fault is. And if you find like a continuous row of this, it's probably that there's like a fault going through this region. And so I found quite a few faults which had never been mapped before, and some of these are going through very populated areas. And so one of the things that I was hoping to do with my research is release a more updated active fault map of the region, so that people can take better earthquake seismic precautions. Okay, we were going to talk about my Longmenshan though. So basically in the Longmenshan, it's a continuous mountain belt. It goes from southwest to northeast, if you can imagine that. And it's steeper and higher in the southwest, and it's a little bit lower and it's not so steep in the northeast. And so I reinterpreted a series of seismic profiles along the entire thing to figure out why is it that the topography changes from southwest to northeast. So by reinterpreting the seismic profiles, I could see that the style of deformation is what we call it, or like the structural geology, basically the shapes that the rocks made when they deform, is different from the southwest to the northeast, with the southwest being more thrust faulting and the northeast being more strike slip faulting and more duplex development. And duplexes are basically a form of faulting where it all kind of faults under the surface. Okay. So there's like an overlying rock that gets pushed up, but under the surface it gets kind of like stacked like dominoes.
Yeah.
And so if you have these like stacked like dominoes layer under the surface, maybe because it's a little bit more weak or something like that, then you wouldn't expect as much faulting on their surface. Whereas in the southwest, where we have the steeper mountains, we see more typical thrust faulting, where you just have rocks sliding over another and being pushed up onto the surface.
So is part of that like the composition of what the crust is made of in these areas?
Part of it, I guess composition of the crust is tricky. One of the things I think is that it has to do with the previous episode of deformation that happened in this region.
Okay.
Part of why so little is known about this region is because there was actually 2 major episodes of deformation, one in the Mesozoic and one in the Cenozoic.
Okay. It's
And
a long time ago.
yeah, Mesozoic, long time ago.
Yeah.
Cenozoic is the time period that extends until now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's these two overlapping episodes of deformation. It's so hard to piece out
Yeah.
which deformation happened when. And adding to the difficulty is basically you can differentiate between two episodes of deformation if you have younger rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you imagine how geologists differentiate between different episodes of deformation is basically if you have, you know, lots of faulting and then you have a younger rock deposited on top and that rock is completely undeformed, you can say for sure this faulting happened before that younger rock was deposited on top. However, in my region, there is none of this younger rock being deposited on top. So all of the younger deformation is just overlapped on top of the older deformation in these really old rocks. So it's really difficult to differentiate between these two. But with the seismic profiles, we basically mapped out where the faults are on the surface down to the subsurface. And then we saw, okay, this actually matches the active deformation caused by the India-Asia collision, which is the most recent thing continuing to happen. So basically the known deformation on the surface, the known earthquakes on the surface, all kind of map to where some of these faults are. So we know that what we are measuring is an active fault. And then we can basically say that, okay, well, you know, these faults are probably uplifting the mountain ranges in recent times, and it's not like just a relic of the previous compressional episode.
Cool. That was a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
Okay, my last question for you about your research is, so you talked a lot about how this like ground penetrating measurement really like revolutionized everybody's ideas of what happened in the area. What does it actually look like for you when you go out there and take this measurement?
So I didn't take the seismic measurements.
Oh, okay.
I took the surface structural measurements.
Yeah.
So when I see a fault on the surface, for example, I map where it is, like the location of it, I map what orientation it is, and then what direction of fault movement likely happened on that fault that I'm mapping on the surface. And then if you combine that with the seismic profile, which has been published before, but a lot of these profiles that have been published, the people they just basically made the seismic profile. They didn't go there and measure anything on the surface. So I'm contributing new surface measurements, and then what we call it is projecting the measurements down below the surface onto the profile. So we use the fault on the surface, say, oh, we know where this fault is. And then if you look at the seismic profile, there's likely some sort of discontinuity in the profile, which aligns with the fault that we measured on the surface. And so then we can trace that fault down below the surface. You know, I measured the fault on the surface, so we can continue it down below the surface using that seismic profile. And then from that, we interpret what the structure looks like under the surface and what formed the mountains there.
How many hours do you estimate you spent mapping faults out there?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I was out there for months, and I did not take a single day off.
Oh my gosh. I read about this in the article about you on UCLA.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's true. I was there for months. I did not take any days off, so it was just nonstop. But, I mean, it was wonderful because we just stopped for food for lunch and then, you know, continue our day and then stop at the end of the day at like a little village, and the next day just keep driving, and we just drive and map and drive and map.
Wow.
Yeah. I have to say the food in Sichuan is the best, in my humble opinion, in all of China. So
I believe you. I will have to live vicariously through you.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they just go and they harvest these wild mountain vegetables, and then they bring it to the table, and every day they have different mountain vegetables for you, and it's just like so original. Yeah, it's just so natural, and it's, yeah, delicious and perfect. And the people are so nice. You're really in rural areas. That's one thing I really like about geology, actually, is that it brings you to places where you otherwise would not go. And you get to see, like, a different side of things, like, to different places in the world, where it's not just, like, touristy or things meant for visitors. It's basically you're there for the rocks, and the rocks will bring you to different places that you would otherwise not expect.
That is so cool. I think one thing I really like about learning about people's research, and I noticed this when I was in your dissertation talk, is that sometimes you can see, like, parts of this person reflected into, like, what their dissertation is. And so with you, it's like helping people, number one, and then, like, going out and adventuring. I'm like, yes, I see it. This is Abijah's dissertation.
That's true. I definitely like going out and adventuring. And that's one of the things that brought me to UCLA, actually, is that my advisor, Anyin, had said, all right, if you decide to do a PhD with me here at UCLA, I'll bring you to Tibet right before you start your first year here. I was like, all right, like, deal.
I'm sold.
Yeah, I am sold. I am definitely coming to UCLA. And it obviously helped a lot that I spoke Chinese, too, because I was able to navigate in China, do all my research so much more easily because of the language. So I think I was very lucky in that regards also.
Cool. Well, where can people keep up with your research?
Oh, that's such a good question. Well, I should put something together.
We all should. You don't have a website yet?
I don't have a website.
Oh my gosh.
Well, all of my research itself will be published on Mackenzie Day's GitHub repository.
Got it.
So that's the Gale Lab.
And then you'll definitely be on Google Scholar as the only Abijah in geology.
And I will definitely be on Google Scholar. And when I do get my website up, I am pretty sure that if you Google Abijah Simon, I will pop up. So stay tuned and find me on Google if it comes to that.
So I actually had dinner with DJ Stats Sleuth yesterday, Genevieve Venkatraman.
Oh, okay.
And she managed to push something to Google to get herself that little blurb.
Oh.
So she's now the first thing that comes up when you search her first name, Genevieve, and it's her website, and then the little Genevieve is a PhD student.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I love that she got to be number one.
Will you be at Exploring Your Universe this year?
Oh, I will definitely be at Exploring Your Universe, and I'm so excited to see all of the things that are going on, the 15 new booths and the ticketed events, and I will bring Hannah.
Yay,
and
Hannah.
we will see all the fruits of your labor, and I'm sure it'll be a spectacular event. And really, I'm so glad that it's gotten to where it is now, and I'm so excited to go. And you guys should all come to this event if you're listening, and also bring all of your friends and family, which is what I'm doing also. So, yes.
Aww. Anything else you would like to share with our listeners?
I just want to say thank you to Megan for having me on this podcast.
No, it's really cool to listen to your research in the not dissertation hour-long lecture format.
Yeah, definitely. It was quite a long lecture. I always try to make it more plain English, but inevitably any PhD is very specific, and there's not an easy way to describe exactly what you're doing.
You did great. I was just holding Yun in the back row during your dissertation and trying to get her to shut up. So,
oh my gosh. Yeah, no, that's so cute. You brought the cat. And also, my research is so visual. It's literally just I have over 500 layers on Adobe Illustrator, and that's my research. So it's also hard to audioly describe what it is that I'm doing, and thrust faults and maps, and it's
I think you did a great job. Thank you so much for coming.
You guys understood it. So okay, thank you so much, Megan.
Big thank you to DJ Rockstar Abijah Simon for joining us for her episode 2. We will see all of you on Sunday, November 2nd at the UCLA Court of Sciences from 12 to 5. Never stop exploring.